You do have a little bit of extra time today. So might be something better.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, what else?
Okay.
Very special tool.
I got bands on bands on bands on bands.
Here's your very special tool. Give that to Hunter.
You should be knocking bands out like this.
Get out some paper for notes, please. Get out some paper for notes, please.
I'm special. As soon as I get the special tool. Oh my god.
I need to give you an extra one for when you lose one of your binders.
Jacob. Yeah, you probably should. I'll do something.
I made an extra one. Hey, stop stretching those out. It's a special tool. I told you. You guys think those are rubber bands, but they're not. It's a word that I can barely pronounce. Alright, so first things first. I don't think this is going to be an issue, but it's worth talking about because it's the first day that I am out this year. You're supposed to pause. Pause. Alright, here's some stuff about tomorrow / general announcements. The second thing doesn't matter for you, and the first thing I hope doesn't matter. Now, the biggest issue that I ever have with my advanced classes is the issue that I fight against every day. Hey, like, I'm staring at it right now, right? Like, because you guys are brilliant young minds, you often are off in your brain thinking about something else, or trying to wrap something else from another class, or finishing a conversation that you got into in the hallway, or wanting to get the sub or the teacher or whoever off topic by asking them some deep, prolific question, or like the problem I have is you're brilliant people, right? Now that's not really a problem, but when a guest teacher who doesn't know you comes in and is supposed to like get you guys to work through a lesson on your own, that can become problematic. So I encourage you tomorrow. Do not act like you normally act, which is fine with me. Like, how you normally act is fine because, like, I can be a little off topic, I can be a little random. But guest teachers, they don't know the student groups. They don't know necessarily even the content. Can you put it down? Like, I've already asked twice for people to stop messing with it. If I can't hand stuff out before the activity, then I guess I'll just have to modify how I do things. So, respect the guest teacher more than you respect me. If you don't respect me, just respect the guest teacher. So, I leave a photo roster, and your classmates will sell you out in a heartbeat. If you are causing issues for the sub, I've asked them to leave me a note and name you by name. If I have to talk to you on Monday about behaviors for the guest teacher, it will not be a fun conversation. If there's a substitute and you're taking a mastery, please only have 2 people at your table groupings. It's just easier for the sub to not worry about, like, oh, are they cheating or whatever. And it would not be how Satya and Chris are sitting. It would be how Satya and Steven are sitting. So they're diagonal across from each other, not beside each other, and not straight across. And in this class, there's enough space so you guys would probably all still have room. But tomorrow for my groups, in like Math 7 stuff, we're spreading out between both rooms.
Wait, we're taking a test tomorrow?
No, if. I had a big if at the beginning of that sentence. This, I typed this up only once, so I'm announcing them verbally, modifying as I need to. Tomorrow, what you guys are doing is 2-2-2. We're not dancing, but bring your 2-2. Do not turn in any homework. Although I normally collect homework on Fridays, do not turn in any homework because it's the guest teacher. I'm going to have plenty to grade because Math 7s are all taking a test. So an idea that I'm toying around with, and I think this is like modified theft of Mr. Hall, how he does stuff. If we go to take an assessment, there's been like homeworks leading up to it, that assessment should be assessing, did you learn the material that we did in our practice? So if you master the assessment, it should essentially tell me like, oh, they're good, they did it all, they learned it all, or they didn't really need to do it all. So an idea that I'm toying with is if we get to the assessment, take the assessment, and you master it, you won't need to turn in your homework. However, if you do not master it, then you would need to turn in all of it. So if you are playing the game, you're like, oh, shoot, he's going to offer that we don't have to turn in homework. I'm not doing my homework this chapter. And then you get a progressing.
Well, then you got to do all your homework.
You got to do all your homework. So I'm still not fully like landed somewhere on that yet. Have I told you guys about Dave? Dave's my buddy who teaches middle school math also. We went to college together. We're the same age. Well, he's a year older than me. We were in college together, so like we talk a lot. So I'm kind of still bouncing this idea around. But especially with you guys, I can normally trust my Math 2 class to do their homeworks. Pretty much on the yearly, I have like 1 or 2 people that try to kind of get away with like minimal work or maybe not doing their homework. But most of the time, you guys like enjoy engaging with the math and enjoy the struggle. So yeah, I can normally trust you guys, and the struggle is real, and that's middle school. It's a real struggle, but you got to embrace it and just say, well, this is making me stronger. Your mom bugged me last night about math counts, by the way. You like have to do it. And according to her, I mean, it's still your choice. But,
if he does, then we've got a decent 18.
I know we could have a killer 18. All right, question.
First of all,
Next week. Sorry, I meant to say that with my whole. I talked to Stephen wrong. We'll be starting math counts next week.
who's math class on Thursday?
Sure. I mean,
I
I had not landed on a day yet. We might do Tuesday and Thursday. So like, if you can come on Tuesday, do it. If you can come on Thursday, do it. And as we get close to competition, try to do both if possible.
The only thing I can do is Thursday.
Well, I'm thinking about like one of the days would be heavier math counts type stuff, and one of the other days would be like Sporkle or sort of like not as math count structured, but still like speed problem solving sort of stuff. And you had an and.
I did have an and.
You want to come back for your and?
We'll come back for the end.
Okay. If the guest teacher reports behavior issues, everything, like I'm not even toying around, like that idea I'm toying around with, we'll put on the back burner for now. If the guest teacher reports issues, I'm collecting everything. Okay.
So,
Everyone?
I think we
Yeah.
every
So
day.
if you, sorry, hold on. If you don't try to help your classmates have appropriate behavior, like if they're like off task going on talking and you aren't helping the guest teacher, like then you are just as bad as the classmate that's off task or whatever else, because like we're all a group, right? Like kids don't necessarily understand the power of this word, but like we are a community in here, right? Phoenix itself is a community, but like this class is a small community. We're like the nerds that are 2 years accelerated and whatever. Like help your community be the best as possible. If you just sit back and you're like, well, they're blowing the community up, but I don't care. I'm over here doing what I should be doing.
Can we vote
You're-
someone off the island?
No.
No.
So, yes, Lauren, it would be for everybody. All right, Satya, you're in.
So I think you should like check homework every day, and if you get a mastery, well, you already know we did it. But if you didn't do mastery, go like more in depth and then actually go over their homework.
That'll take time and
But that would basically be Mr. Hall's class, spending half the class.
Except he
going
would
over
upgrade his
homework.
math like
That's a 1 month revision.
Except
all
he
over
wouldn't
again.
take a month to update that.
exactly, which is good.
Well, I don't want to spend half the class doing homework. Or going over homework.
No, not like going over homework. He checked that you have
your
it.
exact wording was going over the homework.
No, I'm like you go over to everyone and see if they found their homework.
So, why? I'll entertain this conversation.
Trust us.
But I don't trust you.
So that we know, so that you know we've actually done the homework.
Yeah.
And
Did
you
you
don't
do
have
the homework?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I trust you. I don't need to walk around like, okay, yeah.
Read it. You can do it.
Read it and
So here's the deal. Here's why I do this. Here's why I do this. And every year I have to modify what I do depending on the group. The reason I do this, a lot of high school teachers don't give one about homework. Your homework is for you. It is your benefit. It is your task. It is your learning. It is setting you up for future success. Me, myself, personally, I don't really care to see your homeworks because you either did it or not, and me checking it doesn't really help because if you know I'm going to check it, sure, hey Satya, can I copy your homework? Hey Lauren, can I, like, there are ways to cheat yourself around it. But the mastery and like testing you on the specific standards we should be learning will tell me whether you really did your practice or not. Whether you have stuff written on your paper doesn't really inform me of anything. It informs me that you got stuff written on your paper in one way, shape, or form. CPM's been out long enough, I bet if I Google hard enough, I can find some ways to cheat my way through it. I found ways to, sure, I'll say cheat, but I found college professors who had posted solved calculus problems that were the only way I survived my college calculus course, because that's how I learned. I didn't quite get the professor's way of teaching. We didn't quite sync up. So when I didn't understand things from class, I would need to go find another person's complete solution. But from seeing the complete solution, I kind of started to understand it better. You best believe I was copying that complete solution onto my paper. And then going to the professor.
Like you're learning it.
Exactly, yes. So, like, that's one of the reasons I don't really check homework. Is like, it's for you. It's not for me. It's for you.
No.
It depends if you're actively engaging with the work while you're copying it down. Now, my first time through Calc 3 in college, I got a C, which is not a passing grade, for a major required class, because I was a math major. All my math classes had to be passed with a C+ or higher. So my C in Calc 3 was not passing. I did it a second time around, and really I probably just needed two laps through it to really get it. Calc is tough. Like, calculus is a deep branch of math, and especially Calc 3 and 4. I can bring my work in someday. I don't think I have my calculus stuff here. Probably have it at home in the bookshelf. Part. I mean, there are lots of parts of calculus. So, my objective for today is for us to do one activity together and then test out how tomorrow is going to go with you guys just kind of working on your own and processing through with your groups. Which actually, like, if we like this style of, like, I can just kind of walk my way through the room and keep checking in on your groups and, like, you guys just progress through the lesson. If we like this, we can talk about doing more of that in the future. Dilations is not something very complicated. We all know about this pretty well. But I want to share with you a piece of technology that does still exist, but doesn't really get used often today, that I've placed on your desks. So, yes, yeah. So dilations, we know, are anything that scales an object larger or smaller. Excuse me, you've probably heard this when you go to your eye doctor and they dilate your corneas.
I hate when they do that.
Or your pupils, yes, sorry, not your corneas. That means that they make them get bigger so that they can look at them in full detail and literally with a magnifying glass, like, inspect your eyeball. Yes, it does, because that doesn't let your eye dilate on its own, which your eye naturally dilates based off how much light it's trying to filter. Then until that drug wears off, your eye doesn't have the choice of its dilation. It is just big.
You just look like this.
Yeah, so and that's why you wear sunglasses or whatever else. So, back before copy machines, and copy machines were actually originally called a ditto machine, or at least that's what people called them, because ditto means same thing, right? So it sometimes would take hours to enlarge documents or shrink text or anything else, because you have to do it manually. Manually, right? So a pantograph. Sorry, I think I'm thinking of a different word. I can pronounce this one. A pantograph, like this, would be how you would enlarge an object. Now, we are going to use our own homemade pantographs. Now, when I did this last year, we modified the activity, and it went pretty well, so I think we're going to try to do the same thing this year. We are going to make Dilation Dude. Now, Dilation Dude has options. He could be, I'm going to leave that there, I'm going to grab this one from back here. Dilation Dude could be a face, could be a whole person, or it could be whatever your group decides to draw. But at the corner of this piece of graph paper, you are going to create an image, right? Your pre-image, actually. So now leave yourself some space. Now an option is attach this to the desk, and then you can also use your desks as part of the space. But I'm going to come over here because this is flat and easy. And then would you move this ball for just a second? So we are going to create Dilation Dude somewhere in like a quadrant of the graph. Doesn't really matter where. And then, I got to turn this so I can actually show you guys. Can I have your pantograph, please? Once you draw your original Dilation Dude, and you guys can choose whether you use markers or colored pencils or whatever, we're going to dilate into a couple different sizes. I'm going to place my thumb to hold the pantograph somewhere. Now it needs to be beyond, like, so Dilation Dude would be right here, because what we're actually going to use are the knots in your pantograph as your marking points. So if I want to dilate it to like stage 1, I don't use the end rubber band, or I just don't use this end rubber band if that makes your life easier. Place my thumb on my point, that's going to be the center of dilation. then this knot is going to follow dilation dude. So if I made it a face, that knot has to be right over top of a part of that face, and I start drawing, and I stretch so that my knot will follow my whatever I made. Okay, if that's a little too close, you can go out to the next level and use the second knot back here, and then this knot essentially doesn't do anything. This knot would be your guide, and you stretch way further, and you have to follow whatever pre-image you make. So whatever object you make, you got to be able to trace out larger. So realize you don't want to make it extremely complex, but if you do this well, it could be pretty cool. For what it's worth, here I'll put up the challenge because then we're gonna recycle this. We kept talking about potentially coming back. This was Dilation Dude last year. So they started up here, right? They drew stick figure, Dilation Dude. They made a center of dilation somewhere up here, and then actually might have been somewhere over here probably. And then stretch out. They did the first knot section, then stretch out, second knot set. Like that's what we're gonna end up looking like. Dilation. Makes sense?
Let's do better dilation, dude.
I agree. Let's go better dilation, dude.
You keep like.
What if the other students are
You should have
What if
like
the other students are
60
here?
copies of that one thing, and then do that every year.
Do you know if there'd be a way to work on drawing?
Yeah, you well. I mean, you can try, but you're gonna want to use like a marker then. It's also not sharp. So hey, make your original up on the desk, but then you can make your copies on the ground. Now, if you want a larger pantograph, I have more rubber bands that you can add if you want.
Here, let's draw it like right here. No, wait,
We're drawing it.
Yeah.
Devin did.
No, wait, this one.
Huh. Dude, I feel like I need to get one of these.
So, should we start here?
Yeah, well, I bet we can order it. Yeah, like we go here. I wonder if that's the whole book that I can print out actually. Let me see.
We'll draw a smaller dilation dude.
You're a lot of
And then we'll dilate that small dilation dude. Do a bigger bigger dilation. And then we'll larger dilation.
This is sweet. Devin's a great guy. I can give you some more interesting details about him at some point.
Let's have more space down
I have to do a hat.
I think for the head we should have like
Are you doing like a Minecraft?
I don't know. No, we're doing a square guy, so it's easier to dilate.
no wait, we need to draw the first stem. We gotta be talking about the stem. Very good. No, please.
I'm very perplexed.
Okay, come on.
I am
Too. We need tiny box stem. You need tiny box. I don't want to. Please. I want him and have Mary look at our.
Now, if we decide that these are good enough, we can hang them in the hallway and start to teach seventh graders what dilations are.
Oh man, it'd be so awesome.
If you want markers, remember my markers and everything are over here. So grab a box of crayons if you want or something.
Could you at least put noise where?
No, guys. Draw
Then-
tiny box.
Don't do hands.
Guys. Draw a cube and then okay, guys. Come on. Okay, we need to do the dilation.
Now, your center of dilation could be off of your paper, but you have to keep the same center of dilation. So, yeah, that makes it challenging.
Okay.
I feel like I need to just bring like some sheets of plywood or something here, so if we like want to work on the ground. Oh my god.
Alright, I'm gonna do this thing.
So these are some of the things that CPM has incorporated that are like unnecessary. We don't need to do this, but it's fun. Is this somebody's? Okay. I was just checking because it looked like a fancy pencil.
Would this be
Like make sure you add details.
would this be a good center dilation?
What?
I need a propeller.
Yeah, so you have to put your face straight above it and follow with the nose.
It needs to be a t-shirt. Make the tail go the other way.
It's hard, right? When you go to do your dilation, you got to keep your face, like your eyes, straight above the knot. Because if you're looking at an angle, it'll throw your dilation off at an angle.
Wait,
So your central dilation being off, you guys can't be like way up here. You got to stretch this so that the knot, like, so it never goes loose. So if it goes loose, that's bad, right? So
Wait, he's gonna penetrate your eye.
now my one caution, this will point that way pretty hard. And move this dilation over a tiny bit, it'll like be more even.
I don't know.
Now maybe not necessarily, yeah, somewhere right in there, potentially. But that's up to you guys to decide.
Alright, here.
Oh, yeah. He is. Look, he's gonna like his leg when he's sticking I'll stretch it. You guys gotta like go.
No, but this guy is all feet apart.
How do we? Can we still do this? Cause his legs don't be sticking in his face.
That's fine.
Yeah,
They can overlap.
Yeah, Mr.
Alright,
Hudson.
your marker there.
Mr. Hudson. I'm pretty
Alright,
sure
we
it's
lost
gonna
it.
overlap.
So we're gonna put this first knot
No, that's not good.
over top of.
No, that means you don't have to use your pocket. It's not tight.
Don't we?
Should I just like, should I just
No.
leave from here?
Use one knot in the beginning, then you use two of them.
Still don't
And
know.
you use
I
like this.
can't draw one.
You want to do the angle.
Then we'll have to go back.
No!
So you guys are making dilation dinosaur?
Yes.
Same, okay. Dilate.
Okay, let's not put the Hudson.
You try.
You guys put yours a little bit far down in the corner. You could honestly try making your dilation to the center off the page to give you a bit more space stored.
We can just do that. Let's do that somehow. We can just do that. Keep it on the
Really, the point of this is to try to find it. Yeah, I know.
I need to get it.
We didn't even know how to do
Or I'll
So,
measure.
this is going to be your center dilation. Make sure it's not, it's not really going to go loose anywhere. These are like the closest points. So then, you take a pencil, a pen, something.
Okay. Hold it where it goes.
End of your pantograph, right?
I'll put it in.
Then,
And we'll see what happens.
from our center,
This is gonna be
should I just do a smaller dilation?
okay. You like hold
On
on
top
to
of the handle amount.
Right,
So I move my center dilation off the
Oh, you got it.
Right, that kind of
So
I start over here.
There's a crack in that.
I wonder why.
So we go
I'm doing the next
follow
one.
the knot over
I'm doing
top
the
of
next
the
one
knot.
first.
Right?
I wonder.
Hey, Satya, spatial awareness. You're acting like my 2-year-old during step.
Okay. Well, I can't do this. No. I can't do this. Fix it.
similar.
I can't do this.
Fix it, Saucy.
Alright, there's his head. Really bad at drawing.
And now trace it.
Now I see it. Now I know how to.
See what we mean with like using the knot?
But now I know how to.
I might let go though.
So he's gonna look really creepy. When I make my center dilation out here, that's how it's going. Alright, so we need to come back together for just a few minutes.
You can't just move your
Wrap up whatever you're currently drawing, like the line you're making or the eyeball or whatever, then grab a seat, please. Grab a seat and get out that resource page that I dropped with you guys.
Do you like her little weird shaped head?
Oh.
I like Dilation Dinosaur from the background. I think it's one of the best.
Dilation dinosaur?
Yes, that's ours.
You should do that. Roar.
Not really, but you know.
That's
Alright, finish up whatever body part and then grab a seat.
I kind of messed up on his head, you can tell. Maybe you can, maybe you can.
No, that just happened as he grew, right? As he got bigger.
Yeah, he's
So,
Exactly.
actually, kind of
I
funny.
do that.
Not like coincidental.
But
My
I'm going to steal
brother,
your
my
I'm going to steal your
is
eyes.
dating a guy.
And not
she's
like
probably
the
married.
take your breath
He
away.
had an
No, I mean,
injury
take
in
your
college
breath
playing
away.
lacrosse where they had to do organ surgery and cut a piece of his skull out and went like healed. So his head actually kind of looks like legitimately has like a divot in And he will always talk like when he sees people looking at him, he's like, yeah, I had a brain injury, I almost died. Like he's just like flat out like I had a brain injury, almost died. That's why my head looks weird.
Yeah.
But he's super cool. Like he didn't die, right? He recovered and everything else, so he like really appreciates life for the fact that like lacrosse almost took him out.
Do you know the expression? Well, at least it's not brain surgery.
He was playing college lacrosse, and I think he got hit really hard, and like his helmet broke or his helmet didn't work quite right, and it like his brain bounced. It was like concussion, but even worse because then there was like blood collection or something, and they had to go in and operate.
Do you know the expression is not, at least it's not brain surgery?
Yeah.
What do brain surgeons say?
Right? Like, at least I don't have to cook dinner, so I don't know. Something that they're
At least
bad
I
at.
don't have to deal with women.
At least it's not changing the oil. Like mechanical. Alright, really quickly, because we have like 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure we actually do understand what we're doing instead of just using a fake pantograph, which you can go back and continue your dilation whatevers at any point. And you can also make your own pantographs. If you get smaller rubber bands, it will work easier. That's just what I had access to, and it was enough to get the idea across. So dilations, right? Scaling of shapes. The one way that dilations get difficult are when the center of dilation is not your origin. Rich, are you gonna get with me, or we're gonna have to keep like pausing my sentence awkwardly? So if we use the origin as the center of dilation here, dilate this with a scale factor of 2.
You could just double.
You could do it. Like do it. Literally like do it. I'm going to use COD for center of dilation. But that wasn't actually what we were supposed to do. Right, quote unquote. What if I actually wanted you to dilate from one of the points? Like, let's say from point A, or from point B, or C, or D. How do we do it if we're dilating from a point? Thomas?
Basically, kind of make that be your point of origin, basically. Like, you have an imaginary another X and another Y axis at that spot.
So, if B was my center of dilation, 1, 2, 3, 4, A is 4 away, I gotta make it 8, so I go 4 more, except I had selected red. Oh, I used the eraser.
And you know you're right if you do it around the origin and then you compare the sizes.
I was about, you know that you're correct if then this comes out to be the same size as our other scaled dilation. Not same place, but same size. So from B down to D, 4 down, 2 over, go another. 4 down, 2 over.
Which doesn't make dollars.
From B to C, 4 down, 1 left, go another. 4 down, 1 left. And B prime stays right where it was. If your center of dilation is one of your vertexes, some of your sides should land on top of each other. Depending on the shape will depend on how many, but here, with quadrilateral, we get 2 sides landing on top of each other because those dilated sides are still same slope and same points. They still use point B as an intersection. So, I challenge you, make a few dilations of this. You can choose your scale factors. Using that center of dilation, or they say point of dilation, but I like to say center of dilation. Scale this out to like a ×2, a ×3, maybe a ×4 if you can fit it. Yeah.
Can I do ×1?
No.
That's smooth.
Like me and all my
Do
friends.
not look up here unless you need help. I say do not look up. Your hunter immediately looks up.
I did. That doesn't look good. I did. But it doesn't look right.
It is. Probably.
Okay, it is. It looks bigger than 2.
Gentlemen, dilate it to a half.
But then it just ended. And I was like, oh, never mind.
Oh, it looks cool.
Scale factor by half. We cut those distances from our center of dilation in half. Now H prime is a little hard there. Can we fit a dilation of 3 on here?
Not well, but yes.
No.
Doesn't really fit very well, right? So from D to G is 10. So I'd have to go 30 from D. That's at 4, so 30.
Wow.
I'd be there, right? Yeah? Because if I'm at 4
Oh, yeah.
and I go 30, or I'm at 34, and it's straight with the center of
Actually, no,
dilation.
you couldn't.
So then
Height is too low.
this is 9 and 3. This is 18 and 6. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3.
Oh. I thought it would go up another 9.
Take your original distances, right? And that's what we're multiplying to. So when you guys like stop halfway through the activity, you're not getting the whole experience. So then F, 2 and 2, if I triple that, another 2, 2, another 2, 2. And I'm going to make this into 4, 2. Three fits.
4 doesn't.
4 does not. So be careful. 3 fits on there all right. 4 will be sticking off the ground.
That looks like a bunch of triangles, like maybe things standing next to each other, like sitting on their side.
Looks like a
From
triangle, though.
your center of dilation, we should be able to draw straight lines that connect. Oh my, sorry, smartboard, not totally straight. Straight lines that connect. Straight lines that connect. And if we do it right, it's going to eventually trick our eyes to look three-dimensional.
Oh, it does look good.
It looks like it disappears into itself or is coming out off the
What
page.
would that be, like a cone?
It's not people leaving.
It would be a pyramid.
It'd be a pyramid. If it goes to a single
Oh, yeah,
point,
you turn it.
it'd be triangular pyramid. Awkward triangular pyramid. So the problem with the smartboard, the color layering messes with your eyes being able to actually go in perspective. Your pencil all being the same color, if you have multiple dilations on your paper, unlike Steven who wussed out at 1, I'm just going to pick on you because we're not doing the full activity. You will not really see that.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm very tired. It's weird.
Mine is not very neat, so you cannot see it.
So, up at the top, we did multiple dilations out from the center, which you can go back and do that if you want. It'll look like that shape is disappearing into the origin, especially if you connect those points together. So up on the top one. Let me make sure there was nothing else I wanted to cover today.
I want to show you something.
We all know definition of similar figures or similar polygons, right?
Yes. Stuff that's dilations of others.
So if we talk about rigid motion,
Transformation.
what's the difference between a rigid motion and what we've been doing?
Rigid motion changes the location,
But
or the orientation, but non-rigid motion changes the size.
yeah, so rigid motion gets you a congruent figure somewhere else, but rigid motion translations or transformations get you congruent figures. So down here, depending, A and D might actually be congruent to each other. They're not in the same location, but they might be congruent. A and B, similar, right? Because this has been non-rigid, it has changed size. We can check objects like this and say whether or not they are similar based off side lengths. So what do we think here? Are these guys similar? They are. This is your right angle between the 10 and the 16. This is, well, maybe not a right angle, but closest to right. 5 and 8. Oh, yeah, okay, they're doubled. 9, 18. Okay, perfect. So scale factor of 2. Does all that make good sense? Okay, real quick, let's look at what you guys are going to be doing tomorrow. So 2, 2, 2, all about similarities, pretty straightforward. So these questions here we can bust through pretty quick. Casey talks about going to a copy machine and enlarging her C. We use proportional relationships to make that happen. So if you guys stay on task and you don't waste your time like talking the whole time, this shouldn't be bad to get through. We can compare scale factors here. Like here we have a scale factor of 3. Here we don't know our scale factor. We got to figure it out and then figure out the unknown.
Good morning. Terry Goldring, please come to the office. Mrs. Goldring, please come to the office. Thank you.
Down here is where you might hit some snags. So this is why I wanted to talk about this today. Especially in similar figures when we have multiple unknowns, we have to set up proportional relationships to be able to solve. So if I relate 4 to x, like 4 over x in a ratio, I can then set that equal to 10 over x plus 9, right? The corresponding parts of the shape. I can also, and this is a lot of times where people get into fights, I can relate, well, like arguments, not like fights. I can relate x to the x plus 9, small shape to big shape, and then relate small shape to big shape. Like I can set up the proportion a lot of different ways. Yeah, there are actually 4 ways to set up this proportion all correctly, and the cross multiplication will come out the same on all of them, just because how that cross product works. Yep, you all think yours is right. That is what you guys are doing tomorrow. If you get done with the lesson, do your homework, and hopefully you don't take any practice with me. We all good?
Yes.
Can I trust you guys to be cool for the guest teacher?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. I will keep your dilation, dude. Where should I put these so if you guys decide to work on them tomorrow?
Burning them would be great.
I'll have these somewhere. Okay, so if you get done with the lesson, you want to work on
in a
these.
way that they won't come back.
Which one? The you and me song?
Downloading it on the computer. So I uploaded it on my iPhone and want to show you
I will be in the family room probably. So I'm not here. Come to the family room. I got to do sound checks and stuff for Take the Risk today because I won't be here tomorrow. But yeah, I'm fine. I'd love to hear it. Satya, I used you as an example for Discovery Days last night when we were talking to 7th grade parents about like ideas and stuff. Like, oh, I had a kid get really into music composition. Like, he's still doing those sort of like Discovery Days should be like long-term passion, right? So that's what we were talking about. So, yes. All of you were
Dilated something 16, then 8, then 4, then 2, then 1, then so on.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it look like real because the distance? It would look like.
The halving distances.
Yeah, so it looked like it'd be going down.
Yeah.
Into.
If my group doesn't want to use our
It would look like you're looking down something because the lines are equal distance.
Or could I just ask them real quick and then come back?
Whatever works for you. I'll even just give you a blank sheet of this graph paper.
Oh, you can?
I can, but I mean, I prefer to use one that's already been drawn on if you can. So, yeah, up to you
What did I
guys.
do here? What did I do with my binder?
Cool, I'll see you soon.
Like this. Okay.
Yeah, just talk with them and whatever works. I'm down with whatever.